Don Price graduated from high school in Pettit, Texas in 1960. He farmed with his dad between Levelland and Whiteface for a few years before taking a job with Whiteface ISD as the groundskeeper and school bus driver. He actually drove the bus that picked up the girls at Girlstown, not knowing that soon he would be connected to Boys Ranch when they later acquired Girlstown. Ellen graduated high school in Thayer, Missouri in 1960 and then spent 2.5 years at South Plains College in Levelland. Don and Ellen met on a blind date that had been arranged by mutual friends. They were married in Levelland on September 2, 1961. A friend that they worked with at Whiteface ISD went to work at Boys Ranch and introduced the Prices to Boys Ranch. After a visit to the ranch with the friend, Don and Ellen fell in love with Boys Ranch. Ellen was a teacher's assistant at Whiteface ISD for 3 years before moving to Boys Ranch. The Prices began working at Cal Farley's Boys Ranch on June 20, 1969. Moving into Fisher home with their young children, Jeff and Jenny, they spent the first 8 months training as house parents under Jean and Tammy Sue Pegram. The family moved into Anderson home for the next 7 years as house parents. Don then moved into the farm program and worked with various departments. Don and Ellen both were very involved with the annual rodeo. Don plowed the arena, opened chute gates, and served as assistant rodeo director for several years. Ellen served as official rodeo timekeeper and sang the national anthem at the rodeo numerous times. They both wrangled kids and enjoyed eating barbecue. Their son Jeff rode a calf at their first rodeo in 1969. Don took time away from the farm program and was a home life supervisor for a couple of years. His last 5 years, Don was the horticulture supervisor. During this time, Tom Maynard was on the horticulture crew, the do-it-all crew that mowed lawns, moved irrigation pipe, harvested garden produce, repaired equipment, bucked hay, cut and hauled firewood, and a myriad of other tasks. For the most part, it was the entry-level job into the farm and ranch program. Mr. Price's job was to supervise boys tasked with performing functions related to the upkeep of the ranch grounds and executive a vital function of the ranch's agriculture operations. He was a fair man, but his word was the law on the crew. There was no doubt who was in charge. Mr. Price was more than a work boss. He was a mentor and a teacher. He was a moral role model. The boys never heard obscenities uttered by him, although they very likely deserved them. During their time at Boys Ranch, Ellen spent 10.5 years as the medical secretary at the clinic. She was a compassionate presence at the clinic, a tempering influence working alongside the chief nurse whose nickname was Old Iron Britches, and for a good reason. Ellen then worked as the administrative secretary to Lamont Waldrop for about 19 years until his retirement. After that, she worked as human resources, payroll, and staff records. In 1999, she went to the Amarillo office and worked as a professional in human resources, recruiting and interviewing prospective house parents and other staff positions until she and Don retired in 2004. Jeff and Jenny grew up at Boys Ranch. Jeff graduated from Boys Ranch High School in 1980. He went on to marry Tammy in 1984 at the Boys Ranch Chapel. They have 3 children. Callie and Cade, who live in Stephenville. Cody and his wife Brittany live in Happy. They have 4 kids, Charlie, Levi, Weston, and Haley. Jenny graduated from Channing High School in 1982. She married Bill in 2002. They have 2 sons, Daniel, who will be a freshman at West Texas A&M this fall, and Andrew, who will be in the 8th grade at Whiteface Middle School. Don and Ellen made sure that Jeff and Jenny both graduated with college degrees. Kevin McKinney came to the ranch in 1971 and ended up in Edwards dorm with Mr. Chandler. Mr. Price was already in Anderson, and most of those men had very good philosophies on raising boys to men. Kevin remembers that if and when you were in trouble, Mr. Price didn't make restriction easy, and it taught you a lesson. He was a very good man along with his bride. The Price's 35 years at Boys Ranch were full of lessons learned in the area of child care. In all the years they lived at Boys Ranch, they never considered doing anything else. Many lasting friendships were made. Ellen, Jeff, and Jenny and their families still enjoy hearing from several of the boys they had the privilege of being a part of their lives at Cal Farley's Boys Ranch. Don and Ellen always enjoyed traveling in their RV for vacations. Family time was important and enjoyable. Everyone got involved. The grandchildren are all very special. After retirement, Don and Ellen traveled full-time in their motorhome. They were able to spend a little over a year traveling when Don developed pancreatitis for the second time and passed away on September 5th, 2005. At Don's funeral, the church was packed. People had to sit in chairs along the back and sides. Ken Arthur, Raymond Hill, Raspberry, Kent Gardner, and Brett Hammond were just a few of the Boys Ranchers that attended. Ken spoke of what it was like being 8 years old and meeting Mr. Price and how kind he was to him, and about the times he would sneak into their kitchen and offer to taste what Miss Price had on the stove. Ken told about how Mr. Price helped him understand how to better face adversity and to find his strengths even though he was the runt of the dorm. Ken told people that when Mr. Price got to heaven and they opened the gates, the whole place cheered for him, and how he spent his entire life leading and mentoring boys at Boys Ranch. Ken Arthur could not be here, but he has sent several of his books. If you will, notice the dedication page in the front of the book. After Don's passing in 2005, Ellen and Bill Allen married in 2011 and enjoy family, friends, and spending time with their kids, grandkids, and great-grandkids. Don and Ellen Price, the 2022 Farley's Boys Ranch Alumni Association Distinguished Staff.